Good luck, everyone.
Welcome to the latest This Week's Acca podcast, sponsored by Sky Bet Acca Freeze. Tom, Jake and Jimmy with you as ever to run through the schedule. Coming up on this episode then, we are talking penultimate weekend of the Premier League season. We're talking the second legs of the playoffs in League Two and those big games taking place in the Championship on Sunday as well. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel to make sure that you never miss an episode, and remember to keep it fun. Never bet more you can afford. This podcast is 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly. Of course, we're at the end of the season now. There is not a full schedule of fixtures, as you'd expect. Leagues are finished. So I think today we'll do the same as we kind of did last week. We focused on the Championship final day in the first half. This time there's a load of games on Saturday in the Premier League. Not entirely sure what's caused that, but we've got a lot to go at. So in the first part, we will look at Premier League, 3 p.m, or just those games across Saturday to look at. The second part, it's playoffs, League Two on Friday and Saturday night, the second leg of those games, and the first legs of the Championship kick off on Sunday. All happy?
I'm happy. Yeah.
More of a best bets. It's going to be tough to build an Acca right at this stage. Maybe if you want to kind of multiple up the suggestions that we make on this one, but effectively,
a big old Acca again.
Oh well, yeah, that one that came nowhere near that we chucked up at about 1,000 to 1 last week. Yeah. Who'd have thought it? Hey, who'd have thought it?
We did go off at 500 to 1, so we're on the value.
So in a way, it's a winner in some kind of bizarre moral spreadsheet. Happy. I'd say let's just get straight into it.
Happy Punt.
With the Premier League, I don't care for the Premier League.
You hate
I will chuck it over to that side of the desk. Where do you want to go to first?
So I want to start with Everton against Sheffield United. It is a dead rubber. It's the time of the season where you get these kind of matches, nothing to play for either team. Blades can be relegated with the worst defensive record in the history of the Premier League.
100 goals conceded.
Yep, they ton up.
Well done, everyone.
Yeah, they've walked down with the bat.
Congratulations, Jim Rod. 100
century.
Goals.
Must have been fun watching, at least. There's sort of plenty of goals and entertainment. But yeah, Everton, the bit I like in this is actually something that you can see quite a lot in dead rubbers is few cards. Referees kind of keep the cards away because there's not as much bite in tackles. And I think this could be an interesting game for it because it's priced up as potentially having quite a lot of cards. You can back the under 2.5 cards. I think Bet365 at the time of recording, the only bookie that have the card lines up. Under 2.5 is at 11 to 8, and no card is actually available with Sky at 12 to 1. And I'm going to have a nibble on both of those because we've got an Everton team who have picked up 1, 1, 2, 4, 0 and 1 in the last 6 home games. The 4 was the Nottingham Forest match, which was quite a big game at the bottom of the table. And interestingly, Sheffield United, the last away game was actually no carder against Newcastle.
This has been my only issue. Surely Sheffield United just boiling with rage so much that someone's just kicking someone out of frustration eventually.
Well, you might have thought that, but the last away game at Newcastle was a 5-1 defeat. There was no card shown at all. The previous game was 4-2 away at Man United, a defeat. They were 2-1 up, and there was only 1 card in the entire game. And then the last 4 before that, or in total, Blades have picked up just 3 cards in the last 4 away matches. So they're not even like booting somebody out of frustration very often. And Everton, as I said, they've generally have been quite good in terms of not picking up too many cards. So I think there's a decent chance of this one going close. Cue the yellow card in the first 5 minutes.
No card then. Sky Bet 12 to 1. Let's go for the bigger of the two because why not? End of season, 12 to 1, no card in Everton versus Sheffield United. Jim Rod, you look very eager to go somewhere else or anywhere, or where do you want to go? Talk to me about Premier League best bets. There's a 12 to 1, a nice starting point there. Can you?
It's a lovely start. Yeah, I was getting ready to slag it, but I had a quick glance at United's card totals, and they're not actually that impressive. But I want to go North London. Burnley head there to take on Tottenham. Burnley
win, nice and easy, isn't it? Oh,
I'm playing the occasion, not any data, any stats, because Burnley need to win to stand a chance of staying up. Forest take on Chelsea in the later kick-off, the 5:30 on Saturday. So if Burnley are going to stand any chance of making it to the final day, they need to beat Tottenham. Tottenham, on the other hand, they've lost the last 4, I think. I'm reluctant to say they've been found out, but when you have a manager who's as stubborn as Ange Postecoglou in the sense that it's his way or the highway, I think it becomes very easy for teams to preempt how to play against them. So in a sense, they have been found out. And I was saying to Jake before we come on, I actually think Vincent Kompany is quite good tactician. I think he might be able to think of some way to play against this Tottenham team. And I was at whatever you want to call the ground, New White Hart Lane, when Sheffield United played them, and we went within 3 minutes of beating them at the start of the season, and we are shit. So at 7-1, given the occasion, I'm happy to take on Tottenham.
To be fair, Burnley, the fact that this is game 37 of the season. Most have got 2, some have got 3, double game week for the FPL players out there. The fact that this is game week 37 and Burnley aren't yet relegated, I think if you around Christmas time earlier, whenever you want, at a lot of point in the season, the fact that if you ask someone, will we still be talking about Burnley as potential survival? It's unlikely, very unlikely, let's be honest, because of the goal difference and stuff like that. But the fact that they're still not mathematically down at this stage probably buys into that Vincent Kompany point, actually, doesn't it?
Yeah, but no at the same time, because pre-season's expectations, not only in the Sporting Life HQ, but across the board, everyone was expecting Burnley to kind of stay up fairly comfortably, given how well that they played in the Championship.
I wasn't.
Do you want to say that a bit louder? No one heard you.
I wasn't.
Okay.
Do you know what odds there were on that to go down? Start of the season, anti-post, I was looking. You never guess what odds they are now, given how shit they have been this season.
Go on, tell us.
10-3 to go down.
Were they?
How good is that?
I wonder if it is, because I wonder what price Leicester will be next season, for example, and they ended up getting less points than Burnley, didn't they, in the end? And you know, there's a lot of striking similarities there between two teams, but that is mad. Blades must have been about 1-100 or something, weren't they?
No, they were a backable price, I think.
We are funny.
To finish bottom, they were a big price, weren't they, Blades?
92.
Yeah,
should have took it as a single.
Yeah, sorry, mate. We ruined it for you. Just for anybody listening out there, we both thought our teams were shit, both Sheffield clubs. We had them both to finish bottom as a double. Half it won. But yeah, going back to this
team
game,
got 90 points, so unlucky you nerds. Did get promoted.
I was going to say, it's the promotion party.
Back to this game.
Great time it's been, though.
I actually think it's worth a nibble on Burnley as well.
Yes.
I very rarely agree with Jim, but I think that this is one where it is all or nothing really for Burnley. Yeah, a draw, they go down with a draw. Simple. They can't stay up if they draw this game. Tottenham's defence.
Are we
is
not
all over
buying
the place
too
as
much
well.
into the fact that a team needs to win?
Yes.
They needed to win. If they just won every game, they'd be fucking title winners of record points.
Exactly.
Because you need to win. Surely it doesn't mean that you have to.
I like that thinking, actually. What odds will there be to win the Premier League next season?
They won't be priced because they're probably.
I'll give you any price you want now.
$1 million.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a fair point, but we are talking about a Spurs team that are stumbling over the line. Like they're going to finish 5th. That looks very much like it's going to happen. They're conceding an absolute shit ton of goals. They can't keep teams out at all. Burnley have shown a lot more resilience in recent weeks. They've had a couple of bad defeats in there, but I don't know. I just think this is potentially an open. Spurs like to play open. It might suit the way which Burnley play. But I would just from an in-play perspective, I think there's potentially a bit of opportunity if it is level around 60 minutes. Burnley are going to have to push. Then it's probably a time to get Spurs goals, Spurs corners on side or something like that, because I think the Spurs will be able to take advantage the other way if things do start to get really wide open.
My only real fancy of 3 p.m, and I'll take us elsewhere. So far then, the suggestions we have really probably a bigger price one is no card in Everton, Sheffield United, or a low amount of cards if you want something a bit safer. 12-1 on the no card, around 7-1, 13-2, depending where you look. On Burnley, upsetting the odds away at New White Hart Lane, as you called it, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, as it's officially
made up
known.
a name for the stadium, yeah.
I'll just be quick and straight to the point here.
I've actually been to it.
We are, Jim Rod and I particularly, I don't know if we're all on it, watching Bournemouth with keen interest in their potential on the huge odds for them to finish in the top half, of which they currently are in the top half as I quickly get the table up in front of me. 10th they are in the league. They are a point ahead of Brighton, who do hold a game in hand, but points on the board rather than game in hand. Not overcomplicating it. They are around even money to beat Brentford at home on Saturday. I presume this will be their last home game of the season. I think they actually play Brighton. Have they played Brighton? I think they do play Brighton.
Final game.
No, they've already beat them.
Chelsea.
That's
it. I knew they were playing someone who they'd probably view as winnable in a weird way, or at least goals scored. Straight to the point, I've overcomplicated this. They've won 4 of the last 5 at home. They play Brentford this week, who are safe. Another team with nothing to play for. Haven't particularly been great on the road. But with that top half finish, having already secured the most amount of points in a Premier League season, I'm going to side with Bournemouth to hit the 50-point marker with a win over Brentford. And if you were building Accas, Bournemouth would be my straight in their Saturday one, just at the odds. I think too much is given to Brentford at the moment. Bournemouth have just quietly, as much as I say quietly, a lot of attention on Areola, and I'm waffling on here, but I think that people probably don't realise they are 10th in the league, that they've just gone around a really good second half of the season.
It's been an excellent season for Bournemouth. A couple of, if they'd have beaten, they've dropped points against shit teams as well. They could have been in the European hunt this season. Like, they drew at home to Sheffield United, for example. Like, those are points where if you get those in, then all of a sudden you're going into the final 2 games with a real chance of doing something really special. My only nagging doubt, I agree, I looked at the Bournemouth price and thought that looks potentially like a good bet, is that the style. I think it's a real interesting clash of styles, because Brentford don't mind going long, and Bournemouth, we know, are all about that press, trying to win the ball high up the pitch. Brentford have got the ability to just negate that press and just really turn Bournemouth and have them facing the wrong way. That would be my only nagging doubt. But again, we're talking second last game of the season. Brentford are away. What's their motivation levels going to be like, etc.
I want to get into the playoffs because I love the playoffs so much.
I wanted to talk quickly about West Ham.
I was going to say, let's chuck it up just to quickly round off any Premier League.
Because West Ham are sending off like one of their best managers in the history of their club, David Moyes. And
why are they even getting rid of him? Stupid idiots.
Well, there's that argument. Yeah. But they
silverware.
Exactly. European silverware as well.
Has everyone put too much on? Have they been suckered in by a rebrand? To quote a famous comedy, they've rebadged it, you fool. It's the 3rd most important European Cup. Okay? It's the Intertoto Cup, but more defined. Okay? Yep. What? Is this everyone called it major? Is it major?
I didn't call it major.
No, I just mean out there.
Listen, I'd like to see you having a debate with Jose Mourinho about this, the man who clinched the first ever
I'm not saying it's not an achievement, but having said we need to move on, enough sidetracked.
Yeah. Either way,
is placed on this.
Either way, he's won silverware, which is something that West Ham haven't done for a long time. He qualified them for the Europa League twice, and they've had another good run in the Europa League this season. He's done all of that this season without his best player from last season, I feel like they've got a good squad. They're definitely ready to move on from him and see if they can do something different. And I think that the price to beat Luton this weekend is too big. I think their players are going to be highly motivated. The fans are going to be well up for giving him a good send-off. At home anyway, they've played really well, scoring a lot of goals. They've got a fully fit squad as well. Luton, they have to win, really, you'd think.
Here we go again.
Yeah, they have to win. But I just think that compared to Burnley, I trust Burnley a little bit more in this kind of situation than Luton, because their defence has been an absolute shambles away from home, full stop. Like, they've conceded nearly 3 expected goals per game, which is horrific, and I think West Ham have got more than enough to cause some serious problems.
What sort of price are we looking around that one?
17 to 20. I expected closer to about 6 to 10 personally.
Cool. 6 to 10, very, very specific.
Yeah.
Okay.
I work to specifics.
6 to 10's an interesting one. Final shout here. I'll open the floor. Any other Premier League shouts, or let's just get on with the playoffs.
I want to just get on with the playoffs.
Get on with the playoffs then. So I'll recap the 4 bets that we've suggested in our Premier League section here then. No card or a low amount of cards coming in that Everton-Sheffield United game. Let's go no card for a bit of fun at 12 to 1. Burnley upsetting the odds by going to North London and capitalising on Tottenham's awful form at the moment. A Burnley win against Tottenham. Bournemouth, trying to keep it simple with that one. Or the last 2, we're trying to keep it simple. Bournemouth to beat Brentford. West Ham to beat Luton. All decent individual prices, we said. You chuck that as a 4-fold, you're pushing around 350 to 1. If you want something big, but I think we're kind of suggesting them as individuals. I mean, if you take the result treble, 26 is roughly on the result treble. The double, you're looking around 5 to 2-ish, depending where you are on Bournemouth and West Ham. There are Premier League best bets then. Let's look at the EFL playoffs.
Hooray!
So, of course, the EFL playoffs continue. Start for some this weekend. League One's done. We know Bolton will face Oxford at Wembley. League Two, which we will start on, I think, because chronology, I can never say that word.
You got it right the first time, yeah?
They come first, to put it simplistically. I'm going to say words that I'm just going to focus on words I can say, okay? Friday night, Crew go to Doncaster. Doncaster at the Keepmoat. We spoke about them on this podcast before. They were 750 to 1 at the beginning of March. You could back them to finish in the top 7. They finished 5th, I believe, in the end. Flew into the playoffs. And not only that, they went to Crew, completely turned them over with a brilliant performance in the first leg. They are 2-0 up. In the other one, Crawley, 3-0 up against MK Dons. The Crawley shout. I needed them to have a good first leg. By God, did they have a good first leg. And yet I'm still not sure if they will reach Wembley. Far more confident Doncaster. We'll treat this again like we did in the Premier League. Best bets wise across those two games. I think just because, nothing against Doncaster or Crew, but just because that's on Friday, we'll quickly touch upon that in case you're listening to this Saturday morning or whenever. Does anything kind of jump out to us in this game? Because it's a bit of a tricky one in that Doncaster, the favourites, 2-0 up, and if we're being honest, are any of us giving Crew a chance of turning this around? Because I really am not, based on what we saw on Monday.
Yeah, based on that first semi-final performance, absolutely not. I feel like, cut a long story short, this is just a no bet for me. Because the dynamic of it makes it tricky for Doncaster, because do they really want to go for it? 4-5, don't want to be taking.
They have to go for it, though.
No, yeah, but
will the chances just present themselves in the space?
Yeah, and the other thing is how bad Crew was in the first leg. Like, awful. But then again, part of me is thinking, 4-1, need to win, 2 goals down. But
I mean, they can't be as bad as they were on Monday.
Not.
Again, surely not. Jeez, it's the cliche they couldn't string 2 passes together. They actually couldn't string 2 passes together.
Yeah,
they were just passing it out wide and just passing it out for a throw-in, and it was absolutely awful between them. I mean, I would no bet it. I think that I'm going to have a small go on the 11-8 Crew, just take the most corners. Again, it's game state. I think that, I don't think Doncaster will sit back and just take the pressure. You kind of treat it as a normal game and go, we'd beat them over 90 minutes at home, let's just carry on as normal. But the dynamic comes into it, particularly late on, where, if the count's close or whatever, Crew could easily have 2 or 3 in the latter stages, which they could then tip them into it. So I'd probably go with Crew taking the most corners in this one. But again, it's a game that, from a betting perspective, it's going to sit in the pub tomorrow night, as we all will be, right?
Yeah, we will, yeah.
Can we go out for a drink tomorrow, everyone? Please. But just watch it and just enjoy it. And just watch Doncaster get the job done.
Yeah, I'm actually going to take Doncaster to win the second leg at 4-5. I think it should be a bit shorter. Crew, I don't think we've spoken enough about how badly they fell off at the back end of the season, and how they were fortunate to scrape into the playoffs, really, when you got teams like Bradford who were running hot towards the back end and nearly clinched it. 1 win in the last 10 League Two games, 1 win in 6 away. They were absolutely hammered by Doncaster in that run. MK Dons as well hammered them. And then all the other matches that they failed to win have been against like middling average teams that have nothing to play for, and they've still failed to beat them. And I think that Crew having to go for it will just leave them exposed. And I think Doncaster are just far superior side. They'll want to go into the final on a high with another win under their belts to extend what is a remarkable run of form. And 4-5, again, I think probably should be a little bit shorter.
So I'm just quickly looking this up as we swiftly transition across to the other game, where to qualify odds, 1-33 is your best price on Doncaster, 16-1 your best price on Crew,
which is really interesting because I did a bit of digging, and Sheffield Wednesday were 16-1 to qualify after the second leg against Peterborough, and they were 4-0 down.
And then this is the thing of, does home advantage come into this? Because Let's go over to Stadium MK, where MK Dons face Crawley, the El Pasico second leg, as I'm going to keep forcing this on to us. MK Dons 13-2 to progress, despite the fact that Crew are 2-0 down. They're 3-0 down going into a game against Crawley. Is this simply a case of they're at home against the lowest ranked team and there's an expectation that they do turn it around? Or, I mean, it's still a big price, don't get me wrong, but interesting one, this.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
When you put the to qualify prices side by side there, it is very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it simple from a betting perspective. I'm just going to back MK to win.
I feel like there's going to be a
4 to
clean
5.
sweep of just
It's
taking MK Dons just to win the game at 4-5, is it?
Oh, I wouldn't be too sure about that.
Okay, we'll come to that shortly, but you go for it on this one because
I think the 4 to 5 is just way too big. I mean, the home form's ridiculous. They should be a shorter price. Crawley have got, a 2-0 defeat is good for them. Like they that would see them advance, and I just think MK Dons will. I don't see any way that MK Dons don't win this game. I'd be shocked if they don't. And I'd also give them a real fighting chance of qualifying, because we've seen even fairly recently. I'm going to use a term. This is probably not going to stick at all, but they are more than capable of going from slappy, getting slapped, to slapping somebody else. They lost 5-0 to Stockport and followed it up immediately with a 5-0 win over Walsall.
The spanky becomes the spanker.
Better. That is better.
Happened to me the other week.
We'll keep to football. Yeah. Please, God, let's keep to this game.
And only a few weeks ago, the Mansfield put 4 past them. They then went and put 5 past Harrogate the following game. So they're more than capable of just flipping a switch and really, absolutely paddling somebody. So I wouldn't be at all surprised to see MK Dons qualify. But I think the win price is just huge. That's where I'm going to go.
Yeah, I thought we'd have a clean sweep, just 3 of us going, we'll take MK Dons to win, but...
There's always got to be one, hasn't there? Yeah.
Recently done a haircut, looking very nice.
The same as last week.
Has different ideas for the game that's taking place Saturday, 7:45, by the way, on this one.
7:45?
It's a latey. Well, they had to, obviously, this got postponed. This was meant to be Monday.
Shit, isn't it?
And we shouldn't have been talking about this game. This game should have been on Thursday night. We record on Thursdays. We would have ignored it just for production and turnaround time, yada, yada, yada. But then it got postponed, so they had to play the first leg on Tuesday. They've pushed this back to Saturday. The only time slot going, 7:45, you can have it.
Well, just to offer something different, for the record, I am 100% on board with MK Dons at 4 to 5. Wow, what a price.
What a
Same price as Donny.
So after all that jeopardy...
Wow. Well, I just want to offer him something different. Corey Adai, you may know him from Such Marauding Runs... Yeah, it's on whatever day it was, Wednesday?
Absolute Tuesday. And fascinated here that you've claimed I'm going to offer something different. And I've heard the name of the goalkeeper of the team currently protecting a lead.
Oh, yeah.
Where could we possibly be going here?
Well, I'm actually going to take him to score any time.
Assist, maybe.
I think he'll be on pens.
Do you know what? I think that's only a matter of time before Edison gets set-piece duties, by the way. At Man
What a
City.
pivot that is.
Anyway, no, Corey Adai's got 4 cards this season. His most recent one came in the 17th minute. 3 cards for time wasting. That one in the 17th minute was for time wasting. The beauty of it is sometimes he gets carded in the first half before the 60th minute either, and his team don't even go on to win. He's protecting points that his team doesn't even get. I'm waiting for the card to be priced, but I'm thinking I'll be taking... I'll probably draw the line at 11 to 2. I'm hoping he's 11 to 2-ish, but Sky usually post keepers up about 7-8 to 1. They're good for them. And if you wanted to be even more greedy,
As always, yes.
if that's not good enough for you, I would be tempted to combine it with the MK Don win, because although he is a bit of a cannon and he will time waste at any point, I feel like he's going to get particularly boisterous with his gamesmanship if it's getting a bit cagey. So I think if you combine it with MK Don's win, going to get a bit technical here, but it might even suit the algorithm of the bet builder better, so you might be getting 20s, 25 to 1. So I won't put anyone
Keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on it.
Yeah, well, annoyingly, me and Jake have just been looking in the break. He's not being priced up by 365, even though everyone else has. So I'm going to get on Twitter and message them as soon as I get a minute. Like, what the fuck is going on? Where is he?
Well, it seems to be, Sky the one you want to keep an eye on price-wise.
Yeah. Sky, I'm 100% sure they'll drop it tomorrow, so keep your eye on there. His name is Corey Adai, Addai.
Tomorrow being Friday, of course, in case
Friday.
you're listening to this in the future, which is very likely because we don't do this live and there's nobody else in the studio. There are League Two ones. Then we've kind of gone with no betting. I'm on the crew corner side in the Doncaster game. I think there's no over huge desire to get stuck into that one, but we're all on board if you want to keep it simple. We're just taking MK Dons to win on the night in 90 minutes. You have to specify in 90 minutes in any of these because even though it doesn't add up, the maths does not add up, the MK Dons to win, if you bet that, it will win, regardless if it's in extra time, because MK Dons will have had to have won by at least 3 goals, but I will clarify it. MK Dons to win.
Final note on this. I think you could get really creative as well, because it's going to be an absolute siege from MK Dons.
Stepping on your patch.
Well, I'm not as rogue as the keeper card, but MK Dons to win. MK Dons, you could look at shot lines, put that in a bet builder. You could also put MK Dons corners in a bet builder as well. And just maybe play the ladder game, because if they get one early, it's just going to be consistent pressure and Crawley are going to sink deeper and deeper.
I'm going to shout my first 10-minute corner.
Yep.
Just thought of it then. I've been doing this a lot, actually. Some bookmakers offer team to have corner in the first 10 minutes. And I was looking it up in the Champions League, and I was like, I wonder what it's like trailing teams. It does actually happen. And then this week, 2 of the 3 teams who were trailing in knockout football across Champions League and League One had corners in the first 10 minutes, and usually you get like around even money on it to happen. So with them chasing 3, they've just got to go hell for leather from the first whistle, haven't they? They're the League Two shouts then. Let's go on to the Championship, which takes place on Sunday. Kicks off with Leeds, or Norwich versus Leeds, I should say, at 12 p.m. At 2:15, it's West Brom versus Southampton. The lineup switched, didn't it, I think, on final day.
Crisscross.
Norwich got knocked down to 6th. West Brom took 5th. As we always know, the favourites go home 2nd, which is, of course, Leeds and Southampton. Let's start with the first game then at Carrow Road. Does anything kind of jump out to us in this one? Because it's a very interesting dynamic of Leeds are the best team in the playoffs on points gained. That's just a basic fact. They got the most points, and usually the teams that get the most points win the playoffs. That's just historically how it works. However, their form has been appalling. Absolutely appalling. The final day against Southampton, both teams tried something a little bit different, so we can't read into that too much. But does that mean we side with Norwich in the first leg? How are we approaching this game? Because it's a tough one to call.
Well, I'm going to let Jim Rod have a go at this, because he's written an absolutely brilliant Championship playoff preview on site, where he's... Yeah, it was a fantastic read. Oh, it's full 20 spot. Lovely.
This is great that you're going to have to try and get that back off.
Yeah. It's not happening. But yeah, his in-depth analysis on the playoffs was very good. So
look at this. Please can I have it back?
I need that for chip oil.
Go on.
Yes, chip oil. So, can I just say, what a wonderful time of the year this is.
Yeah.
As I put
just keep talking as you just keep... Yeah, let's go. Okay, now we're into it.
I think this is a fascinating clash. Really, really fascinating, because I buy massively into momentum going into the playoffs. Although, as you said, there's actually a wonderful piece up on site about the statistics and if there's any...
Yeah, Dave Pilgrim's done it, just to plug it. If you genuinely do want to have a look into this, there is a site on the Sport and Life, an article on the Sport and Life website. Literally, are the playoffs really a lottery?
It's a detailed
deep
dive.
All the statistics you need on that, proving if it is or it isn't. I'm not going to give it away. I'm going to let you go across it and read it. But yes, back to your shout for Norwich versus Leeds.
Yeah, straight off the bat, no bet for me. I'm keen to take on Leeds, just given the rotten end of the season. There's also some really interesting things, I think, about Farker. You said the other day you could see Norwich getting a 1-0 lead or get to half-time at Ellen Road. It's suddenly going to switch, in it? Because I think the most telling thing for me about the state of Leeds United fans was when news broke that Rossini got sacked. You and a couple more Leeds fans in the office said, I'd take him in a heartbeat at Ellen Road.
Yeah. There's questions about Farker, absolutely.
The Leeds fans in the office were literally wanting to do an Ivory Coast and sack the manager midway through a potentially important campaign. And that might have worked for sure, yeah.
Well, I will say, though, my one slight bit of insight, which it might not surprise anyone, but I think Leeds have spent... This week's been big for Leeds on, your team building type stuff. I think there's huge emphasis on psychological stuff for Leeds this week.
What's he done? Yeah, he's took him to a pizza hut.
Paintballing.
It could well be stuff like that, yeah. I think they're obviously very conscious, because what can you do in training? We've done this all year. We know what we play. We know what we're all doing. I think they're just trying to get their spirits going back up.
On that... conceded a lot of goals recently, over a third of your overall total.
Bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, you've changed something. Was it because...
Given up?
Was it because, like, the whole season, although it wasn't as quick a start as other teams in the title race, but you built momentum on this unbelievable defensive record. I think over the back end of winter, you didn't concede any goals.
Leeds didn't concede in the league until March, I think.
Yeah,
in 2024.
Play or something.
And obviously Pascal Strike, the best defender, has been injured for all that as well, which is.
I know why.
Why?
They can't deal with pressure.
Yeah.
I think when they were chasing, there was no pressure at all. They were winning every week. There was no pressure. They get close, and then as soon as the expectation became, they're actually in the driver's seat to get promoted now, bottle. And it could well be the case with this one. And you've said it yourself that if Norwich have a lead and if it is edgy at Ellen Road in that second leg, then that pressure could well.
They're not stupid teams. They know exactly what's going on. They know the pressure of winning a first leg, and the talk of Ellen Road is, it's a tough place for teams to go. Oh, it absolutely is, because Leeds have got very rich, new, ambitious owners, but there's an understanding they don't really want to go away from Ellen Road because it is so unique, so bizarre. You're like on the player straight. It's very just generates atmosphere. It's very good, but it's also an incredibly tough place to play for Leeds United. It's historically over the years when there's been a big game at Ellen Road at a time of the season where Leeds have had to deliver, more often than not, they've crumbled under the pressure of doing so. And like saying to Jim Rod that if it's Norwich win 2-1 at Carrow Road, fine. That's fine. Both teams, Norwich got a lead, Leeds a go, we can overturn this, fine. But then the problem is if you get to half-time of the first leg and it's still 0-0, people get very twitchy, very upset.
But I feel a bit...
Yeah, basically very... And quickly, that's it. Groans come in. Oh, that's it. Not the basic. Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? And then suddenly, it just goes onto the pitch. Everyone gets nervous. They either don't score, Norwich turn them over or stuff like that. I could very easily see that being the case. But then that said, if they've reset and they've had a week of just going, come on, let's get back together, let's do this, they are the better team.
Yeah,
by far, if we're being honest.
And on the other side of that, we
have sidetracked a little bit from the first leg, but carry on.
Oh, yeah. No, I think it's important to talk about the whole picture, because the other thing is you make a quick start, you get an early goal at Carrow Road, you are the best counter-attacking side in
this is the thing
the league.
Leeds probably are, and they did it at Middlesbrough, where that should have been 4-2, but there was obviously that late goal that came in. They went back to that, cede possession, counter-attack, and they were just brilliant that night. And it was like, okay, they're back and have it.
If they need to claw back a 2 or 1 goal lead, you absolutely pick them off. But to round off the Leeds chat, I've got 2 things actually. Shit, I forgot about that. Right.
Well, you can do it now.
Norwich, set-piece monsters, you talked about it. Leeds have actually conceded a fair few goals from set-pieces recently. Down the back 9. Getting my money's worth out of that saying. Anyway, so I've got one thing to round off this chat.
Questionable antics.
Some trends. First leg trends as via the Not the Top 20 podcast.
Yep.
Great listen. And I've lifted these straight from that. Of the last 30 first legs across the last 13 seasons, only 7 have seen over 2.5 goals. 23 gone unders. Any Football League fan knows how cagey and awful these are. I think this might be the best way in at Carrow Road. You can even go into Asian lines because there's only been 4 goals once since 2007. That was in 2007, so
it's nonsense. 2008. Yeah. I'll shout just actually Junior Firpo 1+ assists. I was looking at it this morning around 5-1 at 11-2. He's got 7 assists. And he was injured for basically the first half of the season as well. So probably in this division, he's clearly very capable as an attacking fullback. So I'll just quickly mention that one there. Because we've spoken a lot about Norwich Leeds and I want to move on to the other games.
I'll quickly rattle off Sargent to score any time, 5-2. It looks a big price. He's actually scored in 9 of his last 10 home games. Average 0.9 expected goals per 90. And as Jim said, Leeds have shipped goals, man. 15 in the last 8 league matches. So Norwich should get a couple of chances and he's the main guy.
On to West Brom, Southampton then. Big game at the Hawthorns. Jim Rod's cheeky little smile. You're siding with one of these teams, aren't you, to win the lot? And presumably that means a positive result?
Oh, yeah. 9-2 West Brom to go up. You said that it was predictable. I told everyone to guess who I've tipped to go up in the playoffs, and only you guessed it first time. Because you say I'm fucking predictable. I'm an idiot. Stupid idiot. But I mean,
the majority of that sentence was made up. I'm not going to say what part of it was made up, so work it out.
No, I genuinely really worry for Southampton against West Brom, against Carlos Corberán in particular. Russell Martin, Not similar to Farker in the sense that tactically, stylistically, he's not that versatile. I know he tinkered with his formation for the last game of the season, but you know what you're going to get from a Russell Martin team. Carlos Corberan, on the other hand, is tactically as versatile as you can get. Looking at his reign at Huddersfield and this one at West Brom, I did a little bit of digging. He's won games this season: Norwich, Wednesday, Queen's Park Rangers, 70% possession. He's also won games, taking points against Leeds, Watford, Hull, Coventry, Ipswich, with less than 40% possession. He's built unbelievably good form at the Hawthorns. His side are good at set pieces, and as those points with over 70 and under 40% possession show, he's versatile. And I think a 1-off, 2-off, 3-off games where the stakes are unbelievably high, he's going to be absolutely creaming over as a manager, as a tactical freak. I can't wait to see what he's got planned for Southampton.
Look, you don't even have to win a game to win the playoffs.
No, you don't.
Don't have to win. Huddersfield didn't win a game, did they?
So didn't
when they went up, if I remember rightly, they're the one that immediately springs to mind. Teams.
Yeah. Did they? They didn't win a game. Didn't score a goal. Did they?
They scored.
Equalised it all.
They didn't score the goal. That was an own goal.
Oh, OG, weren't
It
it?
was an own goal.
I think I've read.
I thought it was a Huddersfield goal.
I think they had. I think it was
Still player.
a Wednesday player scored a goal, and they had a minus goal difference. But anyway,
17, weren't it?
Yes.
I changed
David
it
Wagner.
score.
I don't think they did.
It did.
This is going to have to be
It's
a
typing
point
for
where
us,
I'm having a look. Yeah.
Sorry. The other thing on that game quickly is Russell Martin. This was the first time he's finished above 10th in his managerial career. Duffman, I know you agree with me on this. Just because he plays nice football, I'm not necessarily sure I understand why he keeps getting these brilliant jobs. Few Brighton fans in the office want him there. And I just don't understand why. He hasn't got the experience Carlos Corberan has. He's been here, lost out at the final hurdle before. He knows what it's about. So, Russell Martin done. I'm not sure how he's going to react to the pressure.
7-4 on West Brom to win at the Hawthorns then. Yes, taking it.
I'm taking him draw no bet.
Yeah, what's draw no bet?
19-20.
There we go.
Fair enough. Maybe that's a different route to go for it on that one. Hot on West Brom then in the playoffs and their potential. Aside from that, we will wrap up very shortly. But any thoughts on this one, Championship players as a whole?
As a whole, if Leeds find their form earlier in the season, then they go up. But I think they've got a really awkward kind of predicament. Just being favourites is a bit of a problem for Leeds, I think.
Yes.
I don't mind Jimmy's shout of both outsiders progressing. I could see that happening. I still have major question marks about West Brom, so I'll probably put Southampton up to get promoted.
Okay, then let's round off. Just one bet that we've mentioned there across all 4 playoff games. I like you're rushing to your laptop. You've got them all down.
MK Dons to win the second leg.
I was going to say, yeah, I think that's going to be mine as well. If we just had to pick one there, 2 votes just to take MK Dons to win the second leg.
Have you all got to agree?
Night. No.
This is my own one.
Yeah, do what you want, mate.
Yeah, I'm having Corey die as soon as he gets prize, combining it. Him to be carded with MK Dons to win.
See,
it.
we can all come together
Hoping for 20 to
on
1.
that best bet. And then the Premier League one's there as well. Go back to the first section if you want on that one. But I suppose if you want in a realistic double, I think we'd go for Bournemouth and West Ham probably to win.
I'd happily throw
Burnley.
Newcastle in as a treble as well, out to Brighton, because they've got a lot to play for and they've scored a shit ton of goals at St James's.
There are our best bets then for the Premier League. For the League 1, 2, Championship.
3.
Ignore League 1, that's done for the EFL playoffs, I should have said there, that take place across Friday, Saturday and Sunday. If you are having a bet, please remember to keep it fun, never bet more you can afford, please gamble responsibly. Make sure you head over to Spotlight Football on social media, get in touch with us, let us know what you think of our bets. I don't think we'll have an article on the site this week, there's no real Acca to back, but head over to sportandlife.com/football. You'll be able to find our previews for all of the games that we've discussed and much more. And if you haven't already, please follow and rate us on iTunes, Spotify, or your chosen podcast provider. We will be back in some capacity, in some location next week.